Welcome to the Diesel Up Garage. Today we'll be installing the S&B cold air intake performance kit. The part number will be the 75-5058. It's going on a 2011 Duramax diesel.
The first step in installing our cold air intake is to locate our mass airflow sensor. It's right here. We're going to disconnect that. The instructions don't say anything about disconnecting this pigtail for this temperature sensor. We're going to do it anyways just to get it out of the way so we don't have to mess with it. The next thing is we're going to loosen our hose clamps on our turbo intake and down here on the breather box, and we're going to get that tube out of the way. Now that we have our intake tube removed from the engine, we're going to go ahead and take the cover off of the air box by loosening the two Phillips screws. We're going to lift it up and get it out of the way. Okay, once we got the cover off the air filter, there's two grommets that hold the box in place. You just pop it up and pull it and just get it out of the way, and we'll go to the next step. Once the air box is removed, we're going to have to remove this tray. There's four 10mm bolts. We're going to loosen those and get the tray out of the way. All right, the next step, we're going to have to take the bolts out of this coolant reservoir. There's a 10mm bolt here. There's one back on the other side of the battery down in here. It's a nut. Once we get those two removed, then we're going to take a screwdriver and pop this clip open to remove the AC line from the reservoir tank. Okay, the next step is going to be to remove the mass airflow sensor from the factory intake, and we're just going to transfer it and put it on the S&B tube. Okay, the next step, now that we have our mass airflow sensor removed, be very careful, don't drop it. We're going to install this with a plug shooting towards the left from the cymbal area, if you see where that is. There's two plastic spacers. Those need to go in between the sensor and the intake tube. Then we're going to take these two number 32 screws that come with the kit. We're going to apply a little drop of Loctite on those. Just be careful not to over tighten these. Okay, the next step is to take this adapter here, and we're going to slide it over the turbo inlet. We're going to go ahead and install one of the clamps and tighten it down. Okay, the next step is we're going to take this adapter base and we're going to install it into our air filter. Notice that the shape of this is oval, so it goes on one way. Once we snap that into place, we're going to go ahead and tighten down the hose clamp. Okay, once we have the check valve removed, we're going to remove the grommet from the nipple. We're going to go ahead and place the grommet in the air box, and then we're going to go ahead and put the check valve into the rubber grommet like so. Okay, the next step is to put this adapter onto the tube. We're going to go ahead and put a hose clamp on. We're going to slide the adapter in place, and then we're going to bring the hose clamp up over the adapter. Okay, the next step in the instructions is talking about the four clip nuts over the box here. If we block this off, if we install this, we're going to decrease our engine temperatures, but we're going to reduce the amount of airflow and lose a little bit of horsepower. So for our application, we're not going to install this. We're going to leave that open so we have a little bit more airflow, a little bit more horsepower. So we're going to proceed to the next step. Okay, for the next step, we're just tilting the coolant reservoir out of the way. We've installed the air box, 10mm bolts. We're going to install those closest to the fender, and we're going to use the OE bolts to install them in the holes closest to the engine. Okay, now that we have the four bolts tightened into the air box, we're going to go ahead and reinstall the coolant reservoir. We're going to use the OE bolts that we took out, and we're going to connect the AC line back to the tank as well. Okay, now we have our coolant reservoir mounted. The AC line's connected back to it. The next step is going to be to install our filter into the air box. Being very careful not to damage any of the elements on the filter. We're going to install this filter first, and then we're just going to rotate it into place and drop it right into place. Okay, next step is going to go ahead and put the tube into the hump adapter. Go ahead and slide it into place, and at the same time we're going to install it into the turbo inlet. Okay, now that we have the air inlet tube mounted, we're going to go ahead and tighten up the hose clamps on the turbo side and on the filter side. Once those are tightened and in place, we're going to go ahead and plug in the mass airflow sensor. And then we're going to run the pigtail over to the temperature sensor and snap it into place. Okay, the next step is going to be to place the cover over the air filter. The kit comes with 4 nice Phillips screws. The bigger ones are going to be towards the engine side. Make sure you put the rubber washers on them. The smaller screws go on the fender side, rubber washer down, metal on top, and we're going to go ahead and fasten that into place.